Hey, what's up, guys? This is Deron Brown, your host of the podcast Philosophy for Life. I have a pretty cool guest with me today. This is my former teammate. We both played at De Anza College in Cupertino, California. He went on to play for the University of Washington State as a running back. He was killing shit at De Anza and he was killing shit at Washington State. You have to see his highlights. Since then, he's evolved in many different ways as a person. He's also went on to start his own business. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of Agile Tech Services, Agile Tech Recruiting Services. Sorry about that. Agile Tech Recruiting
Oh, yeah.
Services. And we're going to really just have a cool, casual conversation, talk about life, and get reacquainted. Chance, man, give yourself a short introduction.
Yeah, that was quite the introduction. I haven't been introduced like that in I don't think ever. So thanks for that, man. But yeah, Chantz Staden, born and raised in San Jose, California, which is there in Cupertino. Um, you know, yeah, and now here in Tennessee, in the deep country, and I mean, going from the big city, right? Two kids in the city. Now we're out in the country. I got four kids, and living on 3 acres. Got two neighbors. Everyone's got cows and horses. So I'm living a completely different life than what I might have thought I intended for when I first set out on this journey. But yeah, man, it's been the last couple of years I've been kind of really laying low. In what I mean by saying that is like I've gone within inside to figure out who I am, what I am, and what am I actually doing here, right? Because I always felt that I'm here, you're here, we're all here for something much greater than just working a 9 to 5, building little honey nests for hopefully to pass on to our children, and then boom, kind of, bada boom, capiche, that's it. I'm like, there was just more. And, what really set me off, and usually when this happens is there's some, life experiences that really make you kind of make some drastic changes. And my first one was having a kid. Right, that first year flew by. I was in the office 8 hours. My wife was in the office 8 hours. Um,
Well, when
and
did you have your first kid? Because you said two kids in California. How long ago did you have your first kid, and where were you located?
Yeah, first one came in 2018. Paige, she's 5 years old, or she's turning six this June 26th. So we had one, and then 2 years we had our second, our son Emmett. He's 3. He'll be turning 4 in July. And we had him during COVID year. So, and crazy story about that. My wife, we had our first child in the hospital. It was pretty traumatic experience, right? Just she hemorrhaged. So if you're not familiar, Duran, do you have kids?
I have one. I have a daughter.
Oh, how old is
She just turned 2.
Oh man, so you know exactly. So yeah, times that by 4. And that's what I'm dealing with. I got a 5-year-old and a one, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So it's like mini daycare over here. But yeah, that first, getting married was a big time, of course, but nothing really changed. But we had our daughter, we had her in the hospital. It was not a great experience. We had our son at home. And our last 3 babies we've had here, the last 2 we've had in this room. This is our master bedroom. And so like, and when she brought that idea to me, like, I was like, it was so taboo. I only thought of all the negative, stories and stuff. But I knew that she really wanted it. And if she was going to do it, she needed my 110% support, even though I was like kind of scared, right?
Also, well, one thing I want to point out is that when a woman has her first child, you want to do everything the right way. So you're going to be going to like those birthing classes. You're going to be taking
Did that.
like that's from the best people. And a lot of them, they try to convince women to get like a C-section. They try to tell them why it's so safe and all this stuff.
It's a business.
It's all money, and they try to scare the mothers into doing it.
And they do. They scare them more times than not. They get moms so scared that they schedule their C-sections. They won't even try.
Yes.
They won't even try. So yeah, and dude, we really didn't come up into that kind of energy. We didn't feel that until after our first one. But prior to that, my wife got pregnant, and she just got this overwhelming feeling to like not vaccinate herself while she was pregnant, and then also not vaccinate her kids. And I was vaccinated as a kid, right? Never really thought anything of it. But as an adult, I never touched the hospitals, right? I never got, I just never messed with them, just never felt the need to, right? And but she was getting her HPV. Remember in the freaking early 20s in the Bay Area, HPV, go get your
Ah,
shot, and
yeah,
like,
I
so she
remember it.
was, yeah, she was on that tip as well, getting her shot. She actually, when we got together, she made me like try to go give blood to the hospital. And I went ahead and did it because she put me on her insurance because I didn't
Yeah,
even have insurance. I'm not going to the hospital. I paid the $100 Obamacare penalty a year. I don't care.
yeah.
But she made me to go in there to get blood, and I think I end up not even going. And I'll tell her I'll go back and reschedule, but I never did. But she eventually got pregnant, and then she came to it to where like these vaccines are out of control. This is God's creation. What makes you think that your man-made whatever you got going in there in that lab is going to, is God's got everything going on right here, right? We don't need no extra anything, no extra protection, no nothing. So, and then she brought that to my attention, and it just made sense to me. And I was like, yeah, like, and my son's not circumcised. I was circumcised. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's like, I'm looking at that like, what? They, they,
I heard
they,
I heard the sex is 5 times better when you're not circumcised.
I've heard
That's what
that
I
too.
heard.
The sensation is there and stuff. So
Yeah.
I find this out. She shows me a documentary, right? And I'm like, I'm pissed. I'm like, I'm buying all these tools trying to get my foreskin back. And I'm like, it's not that serious. But I was hurt, right? And I was really upset. And then we got pregnant with my son. And I was like, well, we're definitely not doing that.
Yeah.
And dude, it was so taboo. Like even my mom kind of bucked when she's like,
Hmm.
oh, you need to do that because it's a hygiene thing and girls are gonna think he's
Uh,
weird. I had a friend. I'm like, don't put that over here.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is this is this is God's creation again. There ain't nothing. So it's like, I don't know, man. It was just a lot of things popped off once the kids start getting involved, right?
How was well, tell me about your first child. Tell me about how you felt when you found out your wife was pregnant.
Well, man, I was in a different space during that time, right? I was working. I was like, my lifestyle was work, golf every time I could, drink with the boys every time I could, gamble, as much as I could. It wasn't really fulfilling in that way. Got pregnant
Mhm.
with my daughter, and it ignited me to start my own business to get my, work for myself and become my own man to provide for my family. She kickstarted that, but I really didn't get out of that kind of phase until after COVID, really. So when she got pregnant, like my wife was she partied with me too. That's where we had our fun, right? So she had to quit cold turkey, where I was still, on the side on the weekend. Oh, I'm not hanging out with the boys or whatever, and I'm out
Yeah.
there, I'm out there till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And so we kind of there was some rough time there because she was as being a new
Tension.
mom, pregnant,
Yeah.
emotional, and I was so immature that I wasn't putting her feelings first. It was all about me. The ego was in it. So
Mhm.
yeah, man, it was the early years. There were some issues there, and that stemmed from my parents. Man, my dad divorced. They divorced when I was 18. My dad, cheated on my mom, and so I had that
When
in
you were
my head.
18?
Yeah,
When you're 18, your parents
I was
divorced?
18. I was 18.
18. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So they were married 18 years all the way up until and then divorced. So I was at that point as a kid, like, oh, my parents are gonna stay together forever. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
so it hit different, right? Obviously, it's gonna hit a lot more emotional, a lot more
When
traumatic
you're
as a
younger.
child that you don't really uncover. But as an 18-year-old, I was upset at him. But as an adult, as a man, I get it. I get it. No excuse still for me, but I get it, right? I get it. But I had that kind of demon that was kind of lurking on me, man. And COVID
Let's talk
hit.
about the demon. Let's talk
Yeah,
about the demon because you know where we come from. The Bay Area, me, I grew up in East Palo Alto. Shootings, killings is something that's
yeah.
normal.
We
And a
didn't
lot
mess
of
with EPA, man.
huh?
We didn't mess with EPA, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was no joke.
Girl, back in the 90s. So at that time, I wasn't aware of it, but people had evil spirits in East Palo Alto. I wasn't aware of it growing up. I remember when I came to Utah, and people said that I came off a certain way, but it wasn't until I went to Utah, stayed for a number of years, and then went back home, and I could feel the vibe of the
Mhm,
environment. You
mhm.
know what I'm saying? And once you detach and you step back into it, you can kind of feel how you can see how you were hurting yourself and keep yourself down. Like what was your spirit like when you were before your daughter was born? Well, before your wife was pregnant.
Yeah, man. So grew up in the Bay Area. Like I was telling my wife the other day, because I've been doing a lot of internal work, like really digging deep, bro. As like earliest as back as I can remember. And let me just tell you, I was about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years old, watching like porn on the AB channels on the cable box. I don't know if you remember the cable box. It was cable box A and cable box B. There's two sections, and each had like about 20 channels. Cable
Wow.
box A, cable box A had the like porn, Playboy, whatever, like softcore porn stuff
Yeah.
on channels 31 and 32. I remember like it's fucking yesterday, man. It was like, and I was 5 years old when we moved from that house. So like I was, dude, that demon that was on me was that sexual, like, just trying to get it, and that
Yeah.
stemmed from my father, and even I've seen it in my mom as well. So it stems, it stems generationally, and I'm sure it's in, my grandparents and to a degree, but
Let's
that
talk about
stops.
that. Let's talk about that a little bit because I grew up. I didn't have cable TV growing up. I had like the 1960s TV with like
Okay.
the
Antenna.
hanger that you plug in as an antenna. So I didn't see porn until like my mid 20s. But
Wow.
I
Wow.
do want to talk about how you mentioned sex, like you were basically like a predator. You saw sex in more of a predatory way. And I can resonate with that to a degree because
I wouldn't say predator, Duran. I'd say an animal, though. Animalistic.
animalistic.
And
Okay.
it's like yeah. So not, but again, same kind of difference. But I would say more. It was that animal kind of energy,
Raw.
right?
I
It
get it.
was
There's
yeah,
a
yeah.
difference.
Anyway, go on.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
So yeah, more animalistic when it came to sex. It was like
it was
you
not
see
spiritual,
something
man.
that you wanted and you just
Right,
you wanted it. You know what I'm
right,
saying? It was like a piece of meat.
right.
And it wasn't at first I wasn't conscious of it, but the women that you deal with when you're in that mindset, they're also in a more animalistic state. And it
Trash,
wasn't until
trash.
I really worked on myself, my spirit, that I was able to date consciously. And and then once I was dating consciously, I became aware that not everybody's on that same level as far as like awakening. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a people would use me for sex. And I was just kind of like, I remember just being like, oh, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'm trying to find a connection. I'm trying to build something with somebody. I'm not trying to play these games.
Yeah,
But then because I was going through that transformation, I became aware that there was a lot of, not just men, but there's a lot of women who are also use sex as a weapon or, in more in an animal way.
yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's it's pretty crazy because sex. I've always heard sex sells, right? So you
Mm,
mentioned you didn't get introduced to porn until in your 20s. Like I had a computer, laptop, like 13 years old with the internet, right? Like
mm.
that's how, dude. It was pushed on me. My music was Nelly. My parents were bumping Hot Juvenile. Girl, you look good, back that ass up. Like this is how I was raised, right? We're out there,
Yeah.
camping, having a good time, no doubt, but that's an energy, Duran. And like
Yeah.
now I have my own children. Like I'm very conscious of the music that I play. I'm very conscious of the TV that I have on. Like bro, like I mean, I remember I was 9, 10 years old. I went to go see the fucking movie "Don't Be a Menace" while drinking the juice under the hood, the spoof of the Williams brothers.
Oh.
And
And
the
they had that
opening,
girl in there. They had
the
that one
opening
girl.
scene was like two people bucking, and credit to my mom, she didn't take me, but like her best friend did. But that was all birds of a feather flock together. So that was where I was kind of raised up in, man. And even when are you married and with
I'm not married. I'm not
okay,
married. I'm not
okay, are you
married.
guys still together or no?
We're separated.
Okay, okay. So
Mm.
when I met my wife, like I was not ready. Like we had some rough patches, but I was not going to go out like my dad, right? Like straight up. There's always a positive to every situation. How
Mhm.
crazy that sounds, there just is. And I did my numerology reading a week ago. One of my gifts is being able to turn a negative into a positive. So the
Okay.
positive from my dad sheet let me know, like, okay, I don't want to inflict this, right? We kind of do that naturally. We take from our parents what we liked and didn't like, and then we kind of form our best self, right? As a parent, as a husband, whatever it is. So that
Yeah.
was my motivation. But dude, it really didn't change for me till we got out of the city, like you said, and I was able to kind of, let my mind calm down and figure out who I was. But
You have to change your environment.
yeah,
I had a cousin reach out. I still have family members and friends I grew up with in EPA, and a cousin of mine reached out to me. He's like, "Man, I love your life. This and that." And I went to go visit my family, and then was kicking in my cousin's room, younger cousin. He's like in his early 20s. he's like, "Oh man, I want to show you something." So then he starts pulling out an AK-47, pulls out a few other weapons. And I'm like, "Man, you're not living it," because he was living in Hayward at the time. I was like, "Bro, you're not living in the town no more. You don't you don't have to do this. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to hang out with those people no more." But in his mind, he was trapped. He
So
still
he knew.
felt he still felt like he was there and he had to do something. I'm like, man, if you really want to get out of your environment, coming out here to Utah to stay with me and
Right.
having no plan is not going to do anything for you because I have my own responsibilities. I can't take care of you, my family, and the other things I'm doing. I was like, if you really want to get out, you know what I'm saying, you can enroll in school, and then just transfer to a completely different state where you can just be alone and get isolated. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
If you're really working, I'll help you, but I can't take
Duran,
care of you. You just sitting here.
Duran, like it has to be. They have to want it, dude. Uh,
I see what you're
another
saying.
one of my downfalls is trying to help everyone, right? And I come to the realization that I can't help everyone because they need to be able to want to help themselves first, right? And so
Yeah.
people gotta want it. They gotta want change. I wanted change, man. Like I demanded it. I remember writing in my journal like 2 years ago when I first realized that my words and my thoughts were like powerful, right? I remember writing down in
Mm.
my journal because they're like, ask God for what you want. I wrote down, I want to know the truth. I want to know the truth. And I feel like this last 2 years has been my, truth journey. And I'm finally, like I was mentioning today, earlier, like today is the day that I'm
Yeah.
standing in like this new space of just knowing that, like, dude, this universe is an interactive playground, right? And we are creators, bottom line. And if you're not going to tell your story or be your story, then no one else will. So you got to speak your truth. You got to speak your truth. So yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at now, in a nutshell. But
That's
shit,
why I
man.
got this owl. That's why I have this owl as a logo because it represents wisdom. And
Yeah, no, the owl's significant for
it
sure.
was also Thoth, the Egyptian god Thoth. He had like the bird as like his
Yep,
symbol of wisdom.
yep.
But anyways, yeah. Well, how did you end up in Tennessee? Like, tell me how that happened.
So, real quick backstory. So when COVID hit, um, I didn't pay attention to the news. I never had, never really, I never voted for a president. That shit never really had my attention. When COVID hit, I started paying attention. And I got to the point where I was driving down to the damn state capitol in Sacramento, honking at the fucking capitol in a line of cars saying, open the state up. Like that's how far I got. I drove out to
Yeah.
fucking Livermore to the open gun shop, the only one that was close, bought a gun, waited in line outside with a bunch of other randos doing the same. No guns available. I come out there with a Clint Eastwood fucking 357 big ass revolver. I still have never shot it. It's in the safe.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this was where I was at during COVID, right? And
Mhm.
so through that journey, like I've come complete circle. But and what was your original question? I kind of got off track there.
I was wondering how, like, what things happened that led you to get to Tennessee?
Oh, Tennessee, that's right. So anyway,
Yeah.
so I was on that tip. So I was looking for red states because we thought that red states were going to be because Democrats were trying to do some crazy shit, right? Fucking drag queen, fucking reading to kids, all this crazy shit.
it's
All this
crazy
crazy.
how it's crazy how Cali. I'm in Utah, so it's crazy how Cali has changed in the reputation that Cali has now. Because growing up, Cali was fun, man, but now it's some weirdo shit going on back
Yeah,
home.
yeah. So that shit started popping off. We were like, what the fuck is going on? It was La La Land, man. People were masked up trying to mask my babies, and like, what's a smile do? A smile spreads love, positivity, joy.
Mhm.
And you're trying to cover that up, and then stand 6 feet away from it. Like, ooh, this is some spooky shit. So I got real dramatic, right? Thought I was in like a spiritual warfare, which I chose God right away. But to get to Tennessee, man, we wanted to go to Idaho, stay close to California. We have family there. Then we looked at Austin because we had family there, but like they didn't feel right. Idaho was like hella cold and kind of boring in Boise. Austin was like felt like San Francisco, just growing, growing, growing. And then I got on Facebook group. I was like, hey, what's a good state for an interracial couple? Freaking red
Mhm.
state, like 4 kids want to homeschool, work from home, and people were saying Tennessee, Tennessee. I ain't never been to Tennessee. Only thing I hear about Tennessee is, black folks
It's
getting
the
hung, dude. Like, I don't
it's
know
the
nothing about
South.
this.
It's the
Oh,
South. That's what I was
yeah.
thinking.
So I come out here, I visit. I have one buddy from high school. He'd been out here 8 years. I came and visit him for a weekend. I call my wife back. She's pregnant with our third. Surprise! Like we were not planning it. We were living like in her parents' guest home. So I call her. I said, I can't explain to you why, but this is where you want to be. People were friendly. It's beautiful here. There's there's land. I got 60 acres, right? I got 60 acres that we're gonna, build our dream home on and build an asset, on that somehow, whether
Yeah.
renting or whatever. But I live on 3 acres. It's beautiful here. And so we have a great community now. Kids are homeschooled and they have like this kind of co-op program. But yeah, man, that's kind of what led us here. It was all on faith. But it's worked out for us, right? But yeah, that's how we got here.
That's pretty cool, man, because I just recently bought my house last year, right?
Nice.
And I was saving up to pay off my student loan for like years, right? So that's why I had the money. And then I joined this program for like future millionaires, right? You have to pay, a good piece of money to get in. So I paid to get in just so I can, be around people who knew how to make money. And the guy in the program was like, I said, hey, should I use this money to pay off my student loan or should I buy a house? He's like, buy the house. And I was like, but you have to pay your student loan? He's like, you do, but you want to buy that house. And I can't remember everything he said about it, but he was serious. He was dead serious. Buy the house, get the, as the property value grows, so you can use that money to help you pay it off. But so then because of that, he had me thinking. So I was looking at real estate around the country, honestly. And if it wasn't for my kid, I would have moved out of Utah. But Tennessee was like the number one like growing state. Like even Dave Ramsey, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's in Tennessee, and he was saying like that property value in Tennessee is becoming a lot more. More people are moving to Tennessee because it's just
Well,
becoming a lot more.
let me say this. We've moved here. We didn't know anybody. We have like a group of community. Half of them are from California. Another half are from like Boston, East Coast. People migrated here. We're on the same, we're on the same frequency, kind of same level. And we all have families, so like we were really motivated. But yeah, man, it's still growing. My wife just ran into like a mom from SoCal at the park, but we actually are an hour south because Ramsey, he's like in Franklin. Franklin's money. It's like the Los Gatos of the Bay Area, right? It's real
Yeah.
up and up. So we missed the boat on that one because those houses were like 700 million plus. So we moved. We're an hour south of Nashville in a country town called Shelbyville, 25,000 population. My home's 3 acres, 4 bed, 3 bath. I paid 425 for it, and my mortgage is 1,500. My mortgage back in California was 4,500
Whoa.
on like 15,000
What
square
did
feet.
you move out there? What was the what was the interest rate when you moved out there? Do you know?
To Tennessee, it
Yes.
was what is it? It was less than 4.5 or something.
Oh man, you got a
Yeah,
nice rate, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where was yours at when you bought?
Mine was at 6. 'Cause I bought last year, so you had to buy
Okay,
like
so
a few
so
years before me.
yeah, for sure. It was 2021 when we bought, and then
Oh
so
yeah.
or 2021, and we sold. So listen, this is how we got into the real estate. And dude, we got to talk about real estate because I just came on some information that buying a house is like not the route you want to take. The
Not
thing is,
today. Now it's so expensive.
well, you want your money to make more money. You want to build assets, so you want to really invest in like real estate properties, whatever, something that just generates cash. But
Yeah.
we'll get into that later. But how we got into the because Silicon Valley is expensive. So
Ridiculously expensive.
all my boys out there still apartments, living with their parents or waiting for their parents to die to get their parents home. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
get your foot in there unless you're making bread.
Yeah.
So me and my wife were both working. We got up to like a combined 300K total combined, right? Like I made 230K in my best year. She was at like 130. So we basically went from an apartment to a condo to a home, and we bought at 900, which was super high. But COVID hit, and I sold it to a tech guy for like 950. So we made a little profit, and then we
Mhm.
took that and like we didn't want a big mortgage because my business was just starting up, so we didn't want to get stuck like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we ended up out here, and then we were able to. I was able to have my wife quit her job, focus on the kids, and then that's when like my entrepreneurship journey just like been up and down.
That's so crazy because you're telling me when you had your daughter a little bit right before COVID, it seemed like you were just street dude trying to figure it out, having a regular job, not really having a purpose, but just kind of lost. And now in a matter of just like 4 years, your life completely changed. You're a homeowner. You got your own business. Your wife's a stay-at-home wife. Um, things are just you're on that vibe. You feel me? It's just like it's coming together.
I get told all the time, like, dude, we want to move out to the country. How is it? We want to do this. We want to do that. And like I said, dude, you gotta have like cojones to do that. And we made the decision based off faith, just because we were pulled in this way, man. That's what I was saying. Like, there's a higher power involved here, right? Like,
Yeah,
this was not a strategic plan. This was going off of like gut instinct.
yeah.
And but yeah, just telling my wife the other day, like, dude, we're blessed. We are blessed. We are like living the dream. We need to enjoy this time now because we want. We want to get to the next phase. I want to build this asset, help this group of people. But I got to remember to stay present, enjoy this time, because this is not going to last forever. And the reason why I'm working from home, she's not working, is to enjoy our time with these kids. Because I mean, they're God's kids as far as I'm concerned, and they're our teachers. They're my teachers, man. Like, I know, these kids are walking triggers, man. And so each one is like another level of, like, you level up. Like, okay, you passed this level now.
You have to win. You have
Yeah.
to win when you have your kids. You
Oh,
have to win. It's like I have to make this happen. Like, this house is a beautiful house, but I think like this is gonna be my kid's house someday.
absolutely.
Paid
Absolutely.
off, and she ain't got to worry about nothing. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Yeah. It all changes, man. It all changes. And like you said, I was just fucking pissing in the wind, just bullshitting, really trying to figure out who I was, but I didn't really care at that time. I didn't start
Mhm.
caring until I had my son. And I realized that these kids are sponges. So I'm walking around the house drinking a beer. Well, where did I get that from? I don't even like beer. Where did I get that from? My dad was drinking MGD at the house, on watching the game. This is what I'm doing. And now I'm like, that's not good use of my energy. That's not good use of my time. I'm sitting here cheering for a team, and I'm like, oh, we won, or yeah, I won $50 on this game. Like, that's what you're going to give your God energy to. And so it made me switch. Like, if he's going to be a sponge, I want him to pick up all of my good characters, my good habits, right? And so it's really made me look internally and figure out who the fuck I want to be, right? What kind of man do I want to be? And it's mostly for him, so he can have a good representation, man. And you got a daughter, so I got 3. That's a different. That's a whole different story, Duran. Well, whole different story.
3 of them, man. Enjoy while they babies. Because I heard
Mhm.
when they become teens, it's like a whole
My
girls.
my
They got more
5
going
my
on.
my 5-year-old's like, dude, she's already on the 13 teenager vibe. Like, she's a mimic of my wife, and it's just, yeah, it's a trip, man, and it's work. It's really it's spiritual work, man, because like you start to realize, man, I can't be this upset all the time at my children. Like, you have to learn to like let it go. They're gonna be okay. They're gonna fight. Everything's good. Like, they're gonna use too much milk with their cereal. They're gonna spill. But this shit adds up over a long over one day. And so it's really made me, like, just like I said, take some internal time to think and diagnose how to control my emotions, right, and just stay in that middle balance way. I think that's that Lao, what is it, Lao Tzu teaching, Lao Tzu or Lao Tao,
I
one
know
of
you're
those.
talking about. I know you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
one of those Eastern. It's the
Loud.
middle way, right? Balance.
How
Yeah.
did you get your wife?
Uh,
How did you convince your wife to move to Tennessee? Yeah, and how did you guys
well,
make up?
so dude, so man, all these decisions were kind of from her side, right? She had the intuition, she had the kind of the vision, like she seen big picture. And every time she brought a subject over to me, it was sounded crazy, right? But like, I'd listen to it, I'd have an open mind, and I'm like, yeah, sure. I always believe that mama knows best, right? So, and that mother intuition, oh, you don't want to go against that, right? That's, when she's pregnant, she's got direct, power, inside of her. She's creating life, right? Like, that's the
Mhm.
most, that's a special time. So yeah, it was her idea. She was kind of the brains, and I like, take the masculine energy and go and make shit happen. And so I flew to Tennessee, did stuff like that, started my own business, these things. But yeah, she was the brains behind the operation. But now we're kind of switching roles, right? And that's one thing about marriage, man, is like it's seasonal, man. It's up and down, right? Sometimes she leads, sometimes I lead, and we have to know when it's okay. This is my strength, right? Let me take care of the finances, money. It doesn't stress me out as much as it does you. Let me take this over, or let her take over, teaching our kids. She has more patience with them as she's teaching, right? So it's like it's give and take, man. But it's work, man, and it doesn't ever stop, right?
How did the conversation look though when you said, you know what, we moved to Tennessee? Did she push back or what? Was
No,
she with it?
she trusted, man. I mentioned earlier, I called her from Tennessee. I'm driving through, I'm looking at properties. I'm like,
Oh,
you wanna move here. This is where you want to be. I can't explain it. And we moved 3 4 months later. And that was her first time ever coming here. But she trusted me just like I've been trusting her that entire time. So like I said, it's give and take. But she trusted me and my decision, and yeah, it's worked out. She took a chance, man. You know what I mean? That's bottom line.
how yeah, she seemed like she a writer. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Because
she is, man. She is.
she's dated a few different chances since now. So I'm wondering, how did you meet her? Like where'd you guys meet up?
Yeah, we met through friends. We had mutual friends that were dating, and then she had just broken up with her boyfriend. My buddy, I was in the gym, Gold's Gym, in there in Campbell, California, after work, and he's in there, and he shows me a picture of her. I was like, oh yeah, set that up. So
Mhm.
we met at a club downtown San Jose, and we met in that party life, right, at the bar, right. But we had some mutual friends to kind of approve of each other beforehand, right. We had some references basically.
Okay.
But yeah, that's how we met. And dude, I seen what happened to my parents. So like when I started falling in love with her, um, well, like after I figured out that I was in love with her, I was like, oh, I'm not going down this route. Uh-uh. Divorce is a 50-50. Like it's either her or me. I'm not doing this. So I
Uh-huh.
get straight up. I broke up with her. I told her, I was like, I'm never going to love you because I wasn't allowing myself to. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to do it. And
Yeah.
30 days later, she watched The Secret, and shoot, I'm texting her back. She manifested me. She said she watched The Secret, and she was thinking about me for 30 days, and there I was. So she's had that strong manifestation power for quite some time. But we got back together, and I made that decision then. If it's gonna work, I have to go all in. So I stopped, double dipping and texting this girl and having this alter alternative, motive, and I went all in. And that's the only way anything works, right? But
Mhm.
that's what I did. But yeah, man.
How did you what made her unique from the other women that you was dealing with?
Yeah, a couple things, and the first thing that really popped off, and this is kind of it's really shallow looking back at it, but as a young man, young male out there in the streets with these other guys, like you want to make sure you got one that nobody else had been with, right? And so no one in my circle had been with her. Like that was the first check, right? Because San Jose gets small after a while, right? And I'm 24, 25 at this time, so it was slim pickings. And so that was one thing. So that meant like she wasn't out there like the rest of them were, right? So that was one. And she was an athlete, bro, and I was an athlete, right? She was in the gym. She was a cheerleader. She was fit. Still is. She's 4 kids and fucking. She's got a 6 pack, and she don't even work out. She's just gifted. She's super strict too on her diet and her food. But yeah, man, and she was beautiful. Rock star in the sheets, man. Not gonna lie, and just did it all for me, right? And still
Mhm.
does. And so, yeah, that's what had me in the beginning, and we had fun. We had fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. We camped. We did lakes. We did Vegas. We went to Spain 4 months ago for her best friend's wedding for her best friend's wedding with our 1 year old daughter, and that was fun, right? But like, yeah, we partied, man, and we had a good time. And but yeah, that's kind of what separated her from the others, right?
Okay, yeah, man, that's what's up. I got lost. I was about to ask you another question about your wife because
Yeah.
it was good. It just
Yeah.
I got lost when you said the Spain thing.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
Goodness, I can't even remember, man.
It'll come.
It-
Just
It'll come to me. Don't even
yeah. We're
sweat it.
because I was talking about partying in Vegas and stuff, and then because I was showing an example of how later on in life we still have fun, right? But it's a little bit different. We're not in Vegas doing bottle service, right? We're in fucking
It had to
Spain.
do with it. Well, it was associated with the fun that you guys did, like the things you do. But I can't
Okay.
think of the exact question I was going to ask. But
Hmm.
let's pivot for right now, and I'll come back to it. I want to know a
Sure.
little bit more about your tech company. Like, why did you get into tech?
Yeah, man. Money, man. Money, right? Like I was chasing money this entire time. And I actually started in the medical staffing field first, recruiting nurses and stuff for hospitals. And I was in San Jose, and I knew that the money was in tech. You know, these companies, tech companies, are making millions of dollars, right? And so I wanted to get into tech, and the company that I transitioned to was a small firm, and they were actually in my same complex. I met the owner at a coffee shop,
Mm.
and he made me an offer. I went and joined him, and that's how I got into tech. And so, and the money's been good. And so here I am. I'm like 10 plus years of working as a tech recruiter or in the tech recruiting space, and I've kind of niched down. Right, I've learned some basic business principles that kind of apply across sectors. Right, they're principles, which means no matter how you apply them in what arena, they're true, or they're to be true. So I've had to specialize, right? Niche down is what they call it in business. So I focus on embedded software development, and for those, and you're software engineer, so so the embedded software developer community, that area, that's where I focus, because I always felt like that's the most important part of the technical stack, right? It's like where it either works or it doesn't, right? The hardware and software come together, and that embedded developer comes in and ties that shit in with code and whatever it needs, and then you add firmware on there in the kernel. But so that's where I'm at now. But yeah, that's how I got into tech. I was chasing that money, and now I just sell to corporations and big businesses.
Oh man, that's lovely. Selling the
Yeah,
corporation big businesses because they have money to blow. So
and
that's
it's not
beautiful.
theirs, which is important, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, what gave you the confidence to start your own business?
Man, I've always drawn. So we played sports, man. So it was like when I started playing football at 9 years old, like I kind of immediately was already having dreams of the NFL, right? That's the reason why I played. I wanted to make millions of dollars. It was still for chasing that money. I wanted to make
Hmm.
millions of dollars to buy my
Yeah.
mom a home and my dad a home and like be set, right? And so that was like my drive then. And when football didn't work out, right, tore my ACL, didn't have a great college career at Washington State. I wasn't the fastest, strongest, and it just, it didn't work out. I lost that drive, and I just went kind of into fucking, like you mentioned, like not really having any direction. And then I started my own business just based off, that kind of beast mentality, right? I went back to that, like, dude, I'm gonna go D1. I'm gonna go start my own business. I'm gonna fucking make it. I don't know how I'm gonna do
I'm
it,
gonna
but I
figure
know
this shit out.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I did. But that was the mentality behind it, right? And then again, my daughter really motivated me then. But yeah, that was the mental mindset. That's where the confidence stood from. And even then, Duran, like it's been 4 years, and dude, it's been quite the spiritual journey. Nothing like I've ever experienced before. Nothing that I ever thought it would be. Right? Like
Mhm.
I thought I went into this really unprepared, and I've learned a lot. But yeah, it's been amazing. I wouldn't trade anything for it. Right? All the decisions I made, whether good or bad, I made some bad decisions. I've learned from it, man, and I'm still here. So like, let's keep going. I'm still building. Like it's in business. Here's the make it or break it for business. There's a time where you have a job and you're getting a paycheck, and that's what you rely on. When you decide to go start your own business, you then basically are working for yourself, but now you have multiple bosses. Okay, that's what I was doing for 3.5, 4 years, and everything was running through me. I was the recruiting, the marketing, the business development, the sourcing. I was all of this. I was the whole entire process. It all operated here. So as I continued, and it wasn't working, right? I'd have some good months, but it wasn't consistent. So then I paid for some groups as well. I paid 15,000 to work with this group out of Europe, high end consulting group for tech recruiting, and they put me on the game. Right? You have to delegate. You have to take what's in here, build a system, and hire somebody to operate that, and do
Mhm.
that for everything that's operational in your head. That'll free you up to like explore and do more. So I've done that. I've built a system, but during that time, Duran, you don't make money because you're not doing the things that make money. You're doing the things that are going to like consistently bring in lead generation, right?
Yeah.
And building these processes, and that's where people like won't do it. They won't take a pay cut for 3 or 6 months to build a system. Bezos did it for 10 years, every year losing money. because he understood it was the longer you can wait, the more systems you can build, the bigger the payoff. So yeah, man.
That's
That's
a bar. That's a bar because I'm glad you said that because I have my own projects that I work on that's bringing me in more money, but I have a pretty decent idea. I have a mentor that's helping me out with it, and I could be making a good decent amount of money. And I was just thinking to myself, what would I do with this money? And I think I should create systems. I
so
think that's
so
what I
so
should do.
so.
I should systematize the business.
Duran. So, dude, I was on the dub. So here's my big mistake, and I like, dude, I'm gonna get this information out. There's gonna be a book. There's gonna be a YouTube channel. I'm gonna share this info because it could help a lot of people as they get started into entrepreneurship. But you once you become a business owner and entrepreneur, you have to think differently. So, like, dude, I've been making my bill payments for my credit cards and my mortgages and all these things that I think are important because I don't want to get my house evicted. Bro, your money is supposed to make more money. So do that first, and then you'll have enough money to take care of all of those things. But none of those things are going to benefit you. So putting those money into those things, like, you're just going to keep throwing cash away, and you're
So
going to keep.
let's talk about that now because let's
Yeah,
transition because you had said something about real estate early on in this show, and now I think this is a good segue. So, why isn't real estate a good investment?
yeah. You know what? Okay, so this is, and I got this from what's his name, Robert Kiyosaki, or he's Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Oh, you're familiar with him. You had one of his coworker, his
Yes. The person who
partner
wrote
on
the
a few
book,
weeks. I
his
listened to that
co-author.
one. Yeah, dude, that she was awesome. She was awesome. But yeah, during that time, so here's how my life's been working: synchronicities. Because, like, I just, like, started my program. I came across, like, Robert, because now I need to understand the financial, like, financial literacy part to it, right? And so, but he mentioned a lot of people, what they do is they buy a home, they buy a car, and they call those assets, right? Because you're like, hey, this house is worth $500,000, or it's
Yes.
worth 600,000. I only pay, I only owe 200 on it, so this is worth 400,000. But it's not making any money, but it's taking money, so it's not an asset. An asset is an income profit asset. It has to be generating cash. So instead of buying a home, like, if I'm making that decision again, I'm buying a or not buying, I'm buying a home, renting that out for more in order to cover my current rent or my current mortgage. I don't want to pay a mortgage or rent. Okay? I don't want to pay that. I want to have an asset pay that for me. All right. So, and dude, this is new information that I'm just receiving. I'm still trying to put it all together. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but, like, that's kind of the idea. And I don't, I'm not sure if I'm finding the right words to kind of, make sure
I
that's
get what you're
comprehensible.
saying. I get
But
what you're
that's the
saying.
concept of it. You want to use so buying a home is cool. I justify it now because I work from home, right? So, like, it's not, I'm not bringing any money from the home, but I'm making money from my home, right? So I kind of justify it that way. But no, if I do this again, it would be renting this out, right, to the point where it pays for my next one, or I buy another one, flip that, and, like, but I don't want to be paying to the bank a mortgage, or my credit card, cards on my bills. So yeah, that's kind of the concept
I
and
get
idea.
I get what you're saying, man, because when you buy a home, it's a huge responsibility. You don't just cover the mortgage, but you're
It's
covering the roof repair, you're covering the electric service, you're taking care of the plumbing, the flooring, everything that goes on in that house, you're responsible for. So it's a big responsibility. And the way that the economy is today, the average American just doesn't make enough money to take care of all those different to handle all those different issues that come with owning a home. So that's what makes it so it actually makes most people's life a lot more complicated. But regarding have your assets pay for, cover your bills. That's a beautiful goal. It's a goal that I'm chasing. I'm pretty confident I'll get there. But you and I both know that most people, you even mentioned your boys, most people, they're not going to be in that mindset ever. And they're not going to have the ability to buy a home, ever. So it's kind of for entrepreneurs and big thinkers, this is a great path for people like us. But I say for the average American, it's going to be, I don't know, they're in survival mode every day, every month,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and that brings up this book called U Squared. Can you see that?
I bought that book too, man. I bought it years ago, like almost 10 years ago. I can't believe you brought that book out. Yeah, I
So
remember
I
that book.
bought this yesterday, 35 pages, man, and it's fire. But it talks about Duran going against the grain. You have to go against the grain. You can't do the same things you did before because they didn't provide results. You have to go completely outside the box, 180 degree. So the first example, I don't know if you remember, but he starts off with a story, and this kind of explains it. A fly is buzzing, trying to get through the window pane, right? His wings are fluttering. He's going to kill himself trying to get out the window pane. If he flew 10 feet, the door is wide open, right? So this book is about not working harder because you're literally killing yourself, but working smarter and having a different view of things. And so that's what it takes to be like an entrepreneur, especially in today's age, because we have the internet that's crazy to run. You have a fucking podcast. This podcast, you can turn this thing into a fucking hundreds of millions of dollars. People sell their podcasts for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? I got a YouTube channel that I'm building. It's a faceless channel. I'm just building some digital real estate. It's a business. So it's not even about the content, really. It's about how you produce it and the consistency, right? And then because YouTube's growing, it's not going to fucking stop anytime soon. So the more you show up, the more views you'll get. And so that's kind of, the concept with business, but you have to think differently in order to live that entrepreneur life we all see and everyone kind of thinks they get into it for, right? That Rolls Royce, that fucking that penthouse in Miami, Florida, that a skyscraper in New York, right? And so in order to get there, you have to go. That's why it's 2%, right? That make it, because you have to completely disregard all of your fucking programs that you thought were fact. You have to go against all of that shit and surrender and trust that it'll work out. But yeah, it's a journey.
Okay, I want to know because you're evolving. You're in an evolution process right now, stage in your life. How has your wife adapted to the changes that you've been making?
Thank you
With
so much for
yourself?
asking that, bro. Thank you so much for asking because that's fucking important, man. It really is, because there was a time where it was flipped, and she would have to feed me crumbs on the other side when it came to vaccines and like we went vegan for a while there because we understood about the meat industry, how it was like, again, a game in the milk industry. But we're back onto like eating meat, just not in large consumption, right? Like, we don't do any fast food or anything. Like, she had to, because I was fast food, I was Taco Bell, I was burgers every day, I was beer, like, dude. So she had to feed me this little bit. And so it woke me up little by little. And so now I've been in the same boat, brother. She's been focused on the babies. Breastfeeding is a big thing for her, right? Is getting that liquid gold into that baby as much as she possibly can, at least for the first year. And my wife's not big, and we got, big babies, but, and she actually had, breast implants when we first met. She had those removed, bro, like after our first kid. And so like, that changes the breastfeeding game. And so she's had to make some mental efforts, and it takes a lot of energy. So I've kept my kind of journey kind of to myself. I've introduced her to Abraham Hicks and these different like podcasts and different shows.
Yes.
And she introduced me to The Secret. So she put me on a flat earth. She put me on to like all these things, right? Little by little. And so I'm doing the same for her. And now that I'm on this side, I've been confident because I used to let her worry kind of bring me down and like, oh man, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not being responsible. Maybe I am tripping. But there's been so much proof now that I'm like, nope. You have fear. That's not real. Give it some time, it'll go away, and then you'll come to. And so now she's like on the other side. She's like Kathleen Cameron's is a huge YouTube person we follow. She's like she did the Bob Proctor course, right? So she's like one of his and Bob Proctor's a Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich guy, right? He's the one that put me onto that book. And so yeah, so now she's waking up a little bit slower, but she's behind me. So I have to be careful about the information I share with her because I just know she won't receive it, all the way. But I do have to drop nuggets because it'll wake her up. Seeds, you got to plant seeds, Duran, right? Because those grow into
That's the reason
gardens
I
in our
bring it up.
box.
It's because I've changed. When I started reading at the age of 25, that's when I really started reading. I started reading because I played for the University of Utah. I don't know if you know that. After I left De
Okay.
Anza,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I tried to obviously during our pro day, I tried to make it to the league, and there was a book my friend gave me called The Ultimate Athlete,
Okay.
and I was like, I told myself, I was like, look, if it's a book, if it's going to help me become a better athlete and help me prepare for the NFL, I'm going to read it. So I read the book. It was a good book. It helped. And I was like, damn, I wonder if there's other books like this that help you on like masculinity and stuff. This is before YouTube was even blowing up with all
Yeah.
this. So I was like, I wonder
Yeah.
if there's books like that out there. So then ever since I started reading and I kept, this is before I didn't even know audiobooks was a thing at this time. So I was actually reading the book. So
Yeah.
I kept rereading the book,
That's
and I
good.
wasn't huh?
That's good, dude.
Yeah.
Reading is essential. That's awesome. Yeah.
And I wasn't aware that because I was reading these books over a number of years, my mind was changing, my thinking was changing. The way
Right.
I speak and the way that I carried myself started to change. And then everything, my money got better, my mental health got better, my relationships got better. But I do remember during that transitional phase, I tried to bring people along with me. And it wasn't anything bad on their part. It was on my part because I liked understanding. I
Yeah.
thought that, hey, man, you guys, I'm coming up, I'm doing something, I'm trying to make you a part of it. You know, you guys are stupid for not trying to be a part of it. That's all. This is me. I didn't say this, but this is what I'm thinking in my head. You're doing the same stupid shit. But really, it was me because I was evolving, I was elevating, and I was trying to tell people that basically it wasn't okay for them to be who they were because everybody has a different journey and
Own
they go at
journey.
a
Yep.
different pace. And I had to accept that and understand that there was going to be some people that wasn't meant to be around in my life for forever. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Some people, like I
Yeah.
said, some people are there for seasons.
That's the same. Friends for a reason, friends for seasons. And another thing to that, Duran, is you get angry, like you said, you get upset, like, dude, how can you not see this?
Mm-hmm.
And that takes some growth internally to understand, like, I can't get sick to help sick people, right? I have to, that's how Jesus Christ was the healer, right? He kept his vibration high. If he walked into a hospital full of sick people, he knew that they were well, they just weren't well rested, right? Or he knew that they weren't sick internally. God doesn't make sick. It was a mental, it was like some misalignment. And so he kept his energy and just seen them as, well-being, people. And so that's the kind of energy you have to keep. And those that are attracted or that are on the same frequency are going to come along, and those that are not may come along eventually down the road, but like you said, have their own journey. So, you can't save everyone, and not everyone's going to agree. But again, and that's kind of been my holdup, bro, was speaking my truth. Is like judgment. Like, what are my friends and family going to think, right? When they, hear some of the truths that I have that go completely against all the shit that I was raised up on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just different, and I have to accept it.
You got to
And
be your own person, man.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
you can't be sick to make other people happy. You feel me?
right, exactly.
Um, I saw a video on LinkedIn. It looked like you're on another person's podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a podcast. It was like a testimonial, but yeah, it's a podcast. It technically is a podcast. Yeah.
Okay, and how was that?
Yeah, that was cool. That was my first one, actually. Yeah, and again, that one was a little different because he was actually a digital marketer, Donnie Gupton. I worked with him. He helped me like start doing content on LinkedIn, right? Kind of like a crash course on marketing. Showed me some systems and processes. So introduced me that way. Actually helped save my company when tech started like having their layoffs, right? Because all my clients stopped hiring, and I was like, how am I going to eat? And I came across this program, and I freaking joined them, and that dude helped save my company. So yeah, but it was his podcast, and it was kind of like, sharing my experience through his podcast. But we did touch on some things as well, like mental mindset, man, and entrepreneurship and how it relates to football and the grind. But that was an awesome experience. And yeah, then you pinged me as well. So, and yours is pretty legit. Around like major props to you. Like he says, podcast is a full-time job, and he does it kind of when he can. It's a business, man.
You
And
have
it
to be
consistent.
you have to be committed to it. You
Oh
have to be
man,
committed
yeah.
to it for it
So
to
you got a
grow.
good system in place, man. And I got another buddy. He wants to connect. He's just getting started. He's in Seattle. I played with him at Washington State. But yeah, so I'm like, and I got a vision board here, bro. And I got me on the podcast on here on the bottom right. So like this shit is real. Right? I'm fucking like it's been not even 30 days. I got here. Oh, look where you at. I got a book signing over here in the corner. I got, my book over here, Financial Freedom. Like, so I'm
I
like,
like that. I
yeah,
like
man.
that.
So this is awesome to be on this podcast,
I
man. I
have
really
stuff like I
appreciate
have
you having
stuff like that as well, man.
me. Yeah.
I want to talk because we're almost at the end of the show. I want to know a little
Yeah.
bit more about the LinkedIn marketing that you've been doing. Like that's how we got reacquainted.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I saw your LinkedIn, it was popping. I saw
Yep.
videos of you all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me about that journey.
Man, I'm still on that journey, man. I'm still on that journey. It was really like intimidating for me to get in front of the camera and make this content about like tech, bro. I'm not an engineer. I don't have an engineering background,
Mm.
so it was really intimidating for me. But I got major support, support from everyone like you and just others that see me out there trying to evolve, man, and like do something new because it's going to take something new to break out of that old pattern. So I
Yeah.
went all in on it, and but again, it's a job itself, and I haven't been consistent with it enough, Duran. So I'm just now like restarting with a marketing company, which is through Donnie. It's he's 50-50 with another partner, or marketing, and so I got to get more consistent on it. But I work in tech. All my guys are online, email, LinkedIn. So I live, they live on this thing. So man, I put some systems in place. I was telling my wife today, I got like 5 fucking leads today. And like just a few months ago, I'm building systems, not getting any leads for months because I'm building systems. But like now it's paying off, man. And so it's just it's a real good time for me. But yeah, man, that's kind of where LinkedIn marketing came in, man. Like that's my bread and butter, right? Like I pay LinkedIn $30,000 a year to have an account and some other premium recruiting tools. And bro, I mean, it's been paying for itself since I've started using it. My old boss used to come to me every year because LinkedIn kept on charging higher and higher. He's like, "Do we need LinkedIn?" And I pull out my fucking hire sheet, and I'm like, 90% of our hires are from LinkedIn. LinkedIn pay for that. One hire pays for it, and we're getting 20 to 30 off of there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's vital for me working in tech. Yeah.
1,000. All right, so this is the last question. Well, I like to have my guests give my listeners some kind of advice. Uh, if you had a philosophy for life, what would it be?
That's a good question. And this is just a phrase or something that I would probably write on my tombstone or something like that, right? Philosophy for life, right? Is that what you're kind of
Yes.
looking for? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right now, with my new perspective, I say it's better to give than to receive, which sounds cliche, but that's where it starts, right? It's about helping others first and knowing that like that energy that you give is going to come back tenfold, right? If it comes from a place of like true serviceship. So I'd say that's a good freaking question. But before that, I'd say, get rich or die trying. I'd quote 50 Cent or something. You know what I mean? Like this is two different, really, levels of philosophy. But that's what I would say now, starting today. It's better to give than to receive. So keep that in mind.
Chance, thank you for coming on the show, man. It's great reconnecting. I love what you're doing on social media, man. I love the hustle. I like to see people that I know that are from my hometown doing something positive. You know what I'm saying? And being a role model to people who look like us. So thank you for doing what you do, being who you are. We didn't even talk about athletics. This man was a stud athlete. Check out his highlights.
We got to run it back. That just means we got to run it back.
Most definitely, man. Thank you for coming on the show, and I'll catch you next time, man.
Hey, all good, brother. Thanks for having me. Peace.
Peace.